After Halloween, a friend of mine gave me one of the deluxe stormtrooper armor Halloween costumes that you can find online. The problem with them is that they don't look all that great on film, and it's really hard to get them to fit right unless you happen to be the right size for it. But the biggest problem is that they don't have a backside to it, so if you want to use it for filming, you can't shoot anything from behind. So I decided to go ahead and make my own stormtrooper armor. Most people that make their own armor make their own vacuum forming machines. It's not very expensive to make the machine, but you have to make a lot of molds, and there's a lot of process involved with it. So people that make their own stormtrooper armor, they usually end up spending somewhere between $600 and $1,000 for that. That's a little more than I wanted to spend. So I wanted to think of a cheap, easy way to make armor that was not difficult to make but still looked pretty good on film, and this is what I came up with. To make your stormtrooper armor, you're going to need a pair of black leotard bottoms, the stretchy kind. You can use lycra or polyester, either one of them will work. You can find this online. A light black turtleneck shirt or a really light sweater. It doesn't have to be real heavy, but it does need to fit pretty tight. Make sure it has a turtleneck on it. And a whole bunch of plastic for sale signs. Depending on how big you are and how big pieces you need, you're going to need somewhere between 8 and 12 of these. You have to buy a helmet. There's no way around that. It's just impossible to make one on your own without some really sophisticated molds and some really good equipment. So it doesn't have to be anything real expensive. This is just something that I found online for about $20. It comes in two pieces that Velcro together. You can get really good stormtrooper helmets online. They cost about $80, so if you want to spend the extra money and get a really good helmet, you can go ahead and do that. If you want to make clone trooper armor, this is the voice changer helmet that I found in a Toys R Us. I think it cost me about $25 or $30. You can probably get these online too. So whichever armor you want to make, you're going to have to get a helmet. Starting at the top and working our way down, the first piece of armor that you need to make is the chest plate and the back plate. And what I did was cut those from two separate for sale signs and Velcroed them together at the sides. The pectoral plates on the chest, I cut that off of the deluxe armor and glued that on there, so it looks pretty good. And I did the same with this abdomen plate down here. It's got all these little thingies on it. If you don't have the armor and you want to make your own, the easiest way to do that is just to cut the corner off of a box to make two shallow little corners, and then glue those on and glue them down, and they end up looking pretty good. The back side is another piece of for sale sign that I cut to shape, and this is just a tray that I got out of a TV microwave dinner and glued a couple of plastic thingies on there and spray painted the whole thing gloss white, and it looks pretty good once you get the whole thing put together. The most difficult part of the armor is actually the shoulder pieces, because you have to get them so that you can move around with them. They have to be able to fit nice over your shoulder, and they have to look good. So I ended up just using the shoulder pieces that came with the deluxe armor. If you don't want to do that, the workaround is that you have to go to a Lowe's or Home Depot and get a 6-inch elbow PVC pipe, and then take a Dremel tool and cut the inside of this part off so you can fit it over your shoulder, and it'll end up looking like this. And once you cut that, you can Velcro it on up at the top, and these are going to be your shoulder pieces. You'll need two of those. The next thing you're going to need is a belt and a cod piece and a butt plate, and those are really difficult to make without a vacuum former. So I ended up using the one from the deluxe armor. This is the cod piece that comes with the deluxe armor, and this is the belt. And for the butt piece, what I did was took the two thigh pieces that I wasn't going to use and cut those so that they made a little butt plate, and then attached it on there with Velcro, and then Velcroed the whole thing together so it goes on like a pair of underwear. So that arrangement worked pretty well. If you don't have the deluxe armor, you're going to need to make your own cod piece and butt pack. And the easiest way to do that is just take a pair of silk underwear, silk bikini underwear, and spray paint it with a nice glossy white paint. Use that. It'll work just fine. And take an ordinary leather belt, spray paint it white, and glue a whole bunch of little square round thingamabobs on it so it looks like a stormtrooper belt. And there you go, you'll be good to go. Once you have the torso armor done, the armor for your arms and legs is pretty easy to do. What you're going to do is just take plastic for sale signs and cut them to shape and then glue them together to make tubes, and they slide on. Now the best thing to do is to take some cardboard, light cardboard or some poster board, and make some patterns first. Try them on, cut them so that they fit, tape them so that they're on there nice and snug, and then do that before you cut any plastic. Then just trace those onto a plastic for sale sign and cut it out. That way it'll be sized for you and it should fit pretty good. That's why I can't give any measurements for any of these, because it's going to be different for everybody, and the armor that you make will only fit you. It's not going to fit anybody else unless they happen to be the same size that you are. So the first piece you're going to make is the upper arm armor, and that's just cut from a narrow piece of plastic for sale sign. And for the ridges on all the armor pieces, I just use double-sided tape because it happens to be about the right thickness, and just stuck that on there and then spray painted the whole thing with some glossy white spray paint. And make sure that you have a cutout on the inside. This is where your elbow joint is going to go. You need to make sure it has room for you to bend and move around. And this just slides right over top like this. Then you're going to need forearm armor, and that's made the same way. It's just a tube that I made from a plastic for sale sign, glued it together nice and securely, and then dressed it all up with some double-sided tape. It has this ridge on the front here like the stormtroopers have. And again, you're going to need a cutout on the inside here, and on the inside here, that's for your elbow and your wrist. And that just slides right over top. And these cutouts give you some room to move around. The next thing you're going to need is thigh armor, and that's going to take a little bit of fitting and measuring and cutting to get it to fit just right. Pretty much what you're going to do is just make a big cone out of a big plastic for sale sign, glue it together and make a tube, and then cut out pieces wherever you need to in order to have room for your knees to bend and for your thighs, your hip joint to bend. And once you have everything cut the way you want it, just go ahead and put some ridges on here with some double-sided tape, and then spray paint the whole thing nice glossy white. The shin armor is really hard to make as a tube because it has to be able to fit over top of your foot but still be snug and secure around your ankle. So instead of making it in one piece tube like I did the other pieces, I made it flat and put Velcro on the sides. And then the way I put it on is to have some cutouts here for my ankles, and it fits over top, slips around, and then the Velcro holds it together. For your hands, you're going to need some armor, and what you're going to do is just take a black pair of gloves, cut out a little piece of plastic, and Velcro it onto the back. The last thing you're going to need is armor for your feet, and the easiest way to do that is just get an old pair of shoes that don't have any laces, so moccasins or loafers, something like that, and then spray paint them gloss white, and that'll work just fine. To put your armor on, you're going to start by putting on your black turtleneck shirt and your black leotard bottoms, and then your codpiece, your belt, and your butt plate all goes on in one piece like a pair of underwear. The next thing that goes on is your chest and your back armor, and that goes on with Velcro. I have Velcro straps that attach the shoulders on each side, and there's Velcro that holds it together at the sides. The next thing that goes on are the thigh pieces. They just slide on just like one leg of a pair of pants, and I have some Velcro attached to the inside at the top here. That makes it stick to my leotards, and that holds them up so they don't slide down. Next are the shin pieces, and they go around the back and Velcro on the sides. Next to go on are the arm pieces, and they go with this little cutout towards your elbow. And then the forearm pieces. And now you're almost done. Next is your hand armor and your gloves. And then grab your helmet and blaster, and you're ready to fight for the Empire.